Ну что ж, мы готовы, наверное, начинать. Всем добрый день. У нас здесь есть немножко людей в аудитории, есть немножко людей онлайн. Мы сегодня будем говорить про жизнь на американском кампусе, и я с радостью передаю слово Катерине Коневской, Radna Co-Education USA в Днепре, которая, собственно говоря, и будет проводить эту презентацию. А для ребят, которые находятся здесь у нас в аудитории в Американском доме в Киеве, хочу только попросить, если у вас будут возникать вопросы, то поднимайте ручку, я вам буду приносить микрофон, чтобы Кате и всем, кто в вебинаре, было слышно. Спасибо.
Okay, hello everybody. I decided to introduce you to American culture step by step. Okay, so I decided to give this presentation in English so that you could get used to speaking in English and understanding the information that people share with you in English. So first of all, I would like to know if you're going to start your graduate or undergraduate studies. Could you please just give me some ideas about yourselves?
So maybe we can have a show of hands in the audience.
So who's going to do a bachelor degree?
Anybody applying for bachelor degrees? One person.
Okay, so what about graduate studies? How many people?
Is everybody else interested in master?
Okay.
Okay, yeah, it looks like everybody else is interested in master's.
Okay, I see. So I actually was thinking more about people who want to study on the bachelor level, undergraduate level, but okay, I'll add some information also for the graduate students as well. Okay, so another question is, have you read about, what do you know about the life on American campus?
Who's gonna wanna answer that?
What do you know about life on American campus?
Come on, guys, any ideas, stereotypes, thoughts, anything?
Have you ever seen movies about life on American campus? Okay, I see that you don't have many ideas, or maybe no idea at all, so I'll try to introduce you to life on American campus as much as I can. Okay.
I think we have one person here.
Okay. So?
I don't know a lot about it, but I think that they have they have apartments or places to stay where they can stay, and it depends on what kind of university. They can give you opportunity to, they have gym, and they have opportunity to eat, and they have different opportunities. Well, what is that? Cafeterias, and they have different events, and yeah, I think that university.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, one more question to everybody. Do you think the American system of education is very different from Ukrainian system, and how is it different? Any ideas on that?
Nice to meet you here and there in American House, and I would only say that our system is completely different because we have some remnants of Soviet Union style of education, and sometimes we have at universities teachers, professors that have strong point of view, if we may say that, and they present only. I study at universities of Economical National University named after Vadima Hetmana, and its problem was in our university that some professors can't afford our students take program work and travel to USA because they think if our students serve in restaurants, look after children in kindergarten, they are damage reputation of the university, and sometimes it was difficult to create some circumstances that students that want to go to USA, they can't pass the how we call this.
Okay, what about classes? What about classes and the organization of studies? Do you think it's very different?
I think I have opportunity to listen to some not from American teachers, but who attend some take some courses in Great Britain. I think it's like a Western mentality in these countries, and they present material differently. It was not overwhelming by traditional only not practical but more theoretical material. They present more practical skills, and if you do not do homework at all, you can just take your notes from the lecture and create some situation at the seminar.
Okay, you mean workshops. Okay, any other ideas? Any other opinions? Okay, so let's talk a little bit about that, but first we'll start with arriving. Okay, I'm sure that many of you have already been abroad, have already been to other countries, and you must know that experience sometimes can be overwhelming. With the United States, the added thing that you need to consider is the time difference. So normally the time difference is at least 6 hours, which means that it will be difficult for you to adjust right when you come. So the good idea is to arrive just at least a few days early. So normally, according to American immigration rules, students can arrive on campus as far as 1 month in advance. So you cannot arrive 2 months in advance before your studies, only 30 days. Not many people do that. But my advice is for you to arrive at least 3 or 4 days for you to overcome the jet lag and get ready for your first days on campus. So do you have any ideas how to fight the jet lag? Anybody?
Yeah, we have one. Hold on.
Yeah, I think one thing I would recommend to stay awake till evening, so not go to sleep after if you are about to stay like noontime or later.
Okay. Okay, thanks. I totally agree with you. So whenever I travel to America, I'll just try to stay up until 9 or 10 in the evening, and then I go to bed, and the next morning it's easy to wake up. That works for me. Some people advise not to eat for 12 hours. I don't know how it can help, but still there are different things that you can do. But just in case it doesn't work for you, it's not easy for you to change the time zones. So try to plan in advance and start going to bed. Like while you're still in Ukraine, you can start going to bed 1 hour late each day. So so for some people it helps. So when you come to the States, you will already have like a different time perception, so it will be easier for you to adjust. So this is just one of the hints. And the general rule is when you fly west, it's easier for you to adjust. When you fly east, it's more difficult. So when you fly to America, it will be a little bit easier than flying back home. Another thing to do during the first days when you arrive is to go to all orientations. So normally there is a separate orientation held for international students. There is an orientation held for just new students on campus. And very often if you get a graduate assistantship, there is a separate orientation for graduate assistants. So it's very important for you to be on all those orientations. For several reasons. One of them is, you will learn your way around the campus, so you will know where everything is situated. Campuses can be huge, and sometimes it's very, very difficult to find the buildings where your classes are, to find libraries, to find gyms, and so on. So during the orientation, normally the students have a tour. They can speak to other students, they can meet other students, they can also talk to students who have already spent some time at universities, and it will be a very good learning experience for you. So please make sure that you come on time for all those orientations and that you show up. Okay? One more important thing to do is to meet your advisor. The advisor, do you know who an advisor is? So who is an advisor? What does this person advise on?
I think it's person who advise you what to do, where is everything situated, how you should, I don't know, even spend your free time. Something like this.
Thank you for the guess, but not quite. Normally, an advisor is a person who tells you which classes to take. Okay. Okay, just a second. Okay, that's person. Yes, I got in the chat. In the chat, somebody wrote that's someone who helps you with your classes. Okay, why is it important to get someone who helps you with the classes? In the States, especially for undergraduate programs, the students have a lot of freedom to choose which classes they want to take. So here in Ukraine, one of the biggest differences, I think, that you, for example, you apply to study, you get admitted to an economics program, and you study together with the same people for 4 years on the bachelor level. And all this group of all the people, they actually study together, they go to the same classes together, they have a schedule that university makes for them. In the States, it's different. Normally, you have a list of classes that you need to take to get your diploma. For graduate studies, this list is normally very strict. So normally you have a certain list. You just decide in which order to take those classes. But you don't have many optional classes. Well, there are several, but not as many as for the bachelor level. The students who study on the undergraduate level, they do have required courses for their diplomas, but they also have a lot of courses, like general courses, that they can choose from. For example, they will need to take to get like an engineering diploma. Every student will need to take 1 or 2 classes in humanities, 1 or 2 classes in social sciences, and so on. But unlike Ukraine, the American universities, they let you choose which exactly classes you want to take. And sometimes it can be overwhelming because you don't know which classes, how many classes you need to take, in what order, because some of them are more difficult, some of them are easier. And sometimes they all look so excited, you want to take all of them, but you will not, let's say, the classes will not help you. You need to make sure that you take all the right classes to get your diploma. So the advisor is the person who makes sure that you take all necessary classes to get your degree on time. Sometimes if you don't, if you take the wrong courses without talking to the advisor or for some other reason, then it means that your getting your diploma may be delayed if you don't take all the required classes. So the advisor is the person who can actually tell you or help you decide which classes to take. Okay, is this clear? And also, if you have some study problems, you can also speak with this advisor who will tell you who can help you with your, I don't know, if you have questions about some classes and so on. Then the advisor helps you register for all the classes that you need, and just this is what you do during your first days on campus. Again, sometimes if you wait for too long, the spots may be filled, so you will not be able to take the class that you want. Just because it is filled, all the students want to take this class or take this class from this particular professor. So just don't wait until, I don't know, until too late into the semester or until just before the classes to register. So this is something that you need to do during the first days. Okay? Any questions about that? Then you need to get an organizer. Well, organizer is just one of the suggestions. So it's very important in university. American university is not a Ukrainian high school. It means that everybody considers you a responsible adult, which means that you need to, you're responsible for yourself. You need to do all the tasks. You need to show up all required tests on time. And sometimes it's very difficult. In Ukraine, it's much easier. We know that you go to classes, so you have the schedule, which doesn't change over the term. You know when to show up, you know what time you're free, and you know that at the end of the term you have your exams, or credits and exams. And it's not very often that you need to submit term papers during the term and so on. With the states, it's very, very different. Each teacher, each professor will have different requirements for their courses. You will know about these requirements normally during the first class. They will give you syllabus, so this, or sometimes the professors post this information online. That's a different talk. But the idea is that you need to follow, like for each professor, very often you need to see what needs to be done and when. So one professor will require you to submit a written reports every month, for example. One professor will require you to submit a written paper by the certain date. Another professor will have a midterm exam or midterm and final exam. And, you know, so one professor can require you to show up for some project or something else. And because there are so many different requirements, because there are so many different deadlines that you need to remember, it's a good idea to get an organizer. So by organizer, I mean anything that can help you meet all those deadlines. For some people, it can be a notebook. For some people, it can be an application. For some people, it can be a Google Calendar. It doesn't matter what works for you, but just make sure that all the dates are in this organizer. It will be easier for you to meet the deadlines, you know, to complete all the requirements and also to manage your time. Okay, any questions? Good. Next, the next important part is to be patient. I don't know about you, but whenever I come to the States, for the first day or two, it's very difficult for me to understand what people are saying. Okay, so it takes me some time, although I majored in English language, so that's kind of my job. Yeah, so it's still difficult for me to get adjusted to different accents when I come to the States. And when I, for example, travel from one state to another, it's still difficult to get used to an accent in another state. Also, it's very, very difficult. Sometimes, you know, like the lifestyle or, I don't know, some small things are different across the states. It can be rather frustrating. For example, when I was in San Francisco, I couldn't understand how to stop the trolley bus. You know, like in Europe, I got used to, you know, there are usually some buttons on the door, so you just press the button and the bus stops. In San Francisco, it's just a totally different thing. So I was on the trolley bus, I couldn't understand, I couldn't find the buttons. I realized that people used some technique to stop it, to let the driver know that the driver needs to stop at a certain point, but I couldn't figure out how they were doing it. So I got kind of frustrated. But then I watched people, I realized there was like a rope all across the trolley bus, and you had to pull the rope before the stop that you needed. For me, it was completely different and kind of funny, but then it was just half the trick. Well, I figured out how to stop the trolley bus, but still the door wouldn't open during on the stop. And then, luckily, people actually advised me. You had to actually walk down the steps and stand on the lower step for the door to open. So it was not enough to just stop the trolley bus. You had to stand in a certain point for the door to open. And of course, I felt very, very stupid when the whole trolley bus was screaming to me, "Step down." I couldn't understand why I would step down, why they were calling me bad names and so on. So, yeah, you know, I was feeling very, very bad. But then I realized that it's kind of a learning experience, and you actually have to be patient and, you know, not to be too harsh on yourself. Also, some things will seem that they make your life much harder in the States, and you would miss home because things are understandable and so much easier, make much more sense. Just be patient. You'll get used to it. You'll get adjusted. Just give it some time. So don't lose your heart. Don't cry. You know, don't feel bad if you don't understand something. Okay. And of course, bring stuff from home. That's one of the advice. You know, it's very. You know, people, Americans, they actually laugh very much when they get the souvenirs from other countries. So you could bring some, I don't know, fridge magnets or some, you know, pens with decorated in Ukrainian style, and people really appreciate when you give them those small souvenirs. You can share them with somebody on campus, like your classmates. There will actually be some international nights or international events where you could, share part of your culture. If you pack a vyshyvanka, it will be also helpful because there are often international events where people represent their countries. So if girls, if you do not feel like bringing the whole vyshyvanka, so you can also, bring this flower crown, something to use during those events. And something, chocolates could be nice. They're inexpensive, but people really appreciate those small things that you bring from home. Okay, any questions? Okay. So this is what to do during the first days, just very briefly. Okay, so let's imagine you arrived safely, you get adjusted, and you need to start your studies. Oops, somehow it's not working, it's not changing. Just a second. Okay. So we already talked a little about academics. So first of all, you need to choose the right classes. So I already spoke about this. You can consult with your advisor to make sure that you take the classes that you need and not the classes that you just like. So make sure that you do not lose your time taking the wrong classes. Another advice, it's quite logical. You should come to all classes, or at least try to. In most classes, you do not need to attend. You do not have to attend. Again, the professor will speak about the attendance policy during the first class. It will be normally, or very often it is on the syllabus. If you miss the class, in most cases, it should be fine. But if you look at the price, at the tuition, right? So when you miss a class, it means that you lose $50 to $100 for just one class you miss if you are paying. Secondly, even if no attendance is mandatory, professors seem to remember the students in their classes, remember the faces and so on. So, this is like a personal factor, but if they remember your face, it might be helpful during your exams or during your later talks with the professors. Also, during the classes, the professors can give you information that you might need later in the exam that you will not find in the textbook. Okay, so there are different reasons to come to class, and last but not least is you meet people, you make new friends during the classes, you meet people who you will have to do projects with, because projects are very often part of your studies, so please come to the classes. Also, make sure you come prepared. By unprepared, it means that very often professors in advance, they tell you, or you can read it in the syllabus, that for this class, you need to read chapter 1 or chapter 2 or chapter 3 of a certain book. And during the lecture, the professor will actually not lecture you, not just repeat the material from this book, but normally will encourage the students to discuss what they have read. Okay, so, and this is another chance for you to show how bright you are, how much you love studying, and actually to ask the questions that you have regarding the learning material that will show up on the test later. So again, come prepared, be ready to discuss the topics and so on. Also take notes. Again, sometimes, or not sometimes, very often professors talk about things that are not included in the textbooks. Professors very often talk about different perspectives on some matters. Very often they use examples to make you understand the material better. You do not need to write down every word the professor says, but the general advice is, like, if the professor is writing something on the board, make sure you write it down. So it means it's something very, very important, and it means that very likely it will be during the test. Yeah. So just make sure that you write everything down whenever you see it on the board. And one more advice is to be involved. By involved, I mean that if the professor is asking you questions, if you have a good idea how to answer it, please answer. Professors, unlike Ukrainian universities, professors in the States, they do not like just talking to themselves, and not sure if anyone is listening or not. So if the professor is asking for your opinion, just feel free to express it. Even if you think that your opinion is not, it's not the same as the professor's opinion, still feel free to question the professor's opinion, to ask questions about different things and so on. Okay, this clear? Great. One more slide regarding academics. Talk with professors. And by talk with professors, I do not mean just during the classes. Sometimes, because it is the system of education so different, and because you have to follow the lectures in English, which can be challenging, sometimes you can miss or misunderstand or not understand some material at all. So if you feel that you're lagging behind, if you feel that something is very, very difficult and you need to really understand this material, you can sign up for office hours. So it means that, well, every professor in universities, they have office hours when students can come and ask questions about the material they don't understand. So just feel free to show up during those office hours and talk with professors. Sometimes the professor gives you a task to write a term paper, for example. You cannot, and you cannot come up with ideas. You do not really know how to approach the task. So these office hours with the professors is also a good opportunity to, kind of hone, like to decide, to discuss with the professors the ideas for the term paper. Okay. Very important advice is to avoid cheating and plagiarism. These are a very big deal in the States. If you avoid cheating during the exam, if you are caught plagiarizing someone's work, it is very likely that you will be expelled from the university. In the best case scenario, there will be like a staff meeting with lots of professors, and they will tell you you're a bad person or a bad student at least. This is the best case scenario. In the worst case, you will just be expelled, so they will remove you from the class and you will never attend this university again. So if you are not sure what plagiarism is, there are lots of resources. Again, you can speak with the academic advisor, you can speak with the professors who will help you understand what you can do or you shouldn't do, or you cannot do, okay? One more important thing is that to learn to write the American style. Whenever Ukrainian students write a paper, there is a lot of general information, very beautiful words, some philosophical ideas, and very little, facts, which are very appreciated by American professors. So American academic writing style is very difficult from Ukrainian writing style. So please make sure that you understand how to write term papers, how to write your diploma paper, right? How to, write, how to correspond with people and so on. For undergraduate levels, there are like introductory writing courses actually that you can take. For the graduate students, normally, again, you can speak with the advisor regarding which resources are available. There are also resources at the Education USA centers that you can borrow. And very often there is kind of an academic writing center or a support program in universities that helps students understand how to write those papers, okay? Also, there are lots of study resources at universities. For example, I spoke about talking with professors during office hours, but there are also other resources that you can use if you are lagging behind in your classes. For one thing, you can join or start a study group when several students come together and they discuss the topics on a certain subject that they do not understand. Also, very often there are tutors provided by universities free of charge. These are usually students who are doing well in their classes. University pays them salary, and those students will advise you on different topics. For example, you can get a math tutor, you can get a physics tutor, and so on. If you feel that you do not understand the material and talking to the professor during the office hours is not enough, so you can actually come to the study support center, or just it can be called different in different universities, and find out how you can get a tutor. Okay, and also very important is to meet the deadlines. If you do not meet the deadline, if the professor says that the paper should be finished by June 15th, so you have to submit it by June 15th. If you submit it later, it will be a big problem. However, not all the professors are so bad about deadlines. So if you inform them in advance, not on the last day, not a week after the deadline, but if you talk to them in advance and ask for an extension and explain why you need this extension, to submit the paper later. So very often they will just let you submit their papers later. Okay? Any questions? Okay, so if you don't have any questions about academics, let's talk about other things. Of course, you will be living somewhere, okay? And again, very often the students who study, okay, if most of you are graduate students, it means that there is a chance that you have lived in a dorm with other roommates, so you will understand what I'm talking about. But for those people who want to start undergraduate studies, most probably they only lived with their parents, so they don't know what it's like to live with another student. Okay, there are certain rules. There are dorm rules and there are campus rules. And you need to follow them if you don't want to get into trouble. So the dorm rules are usually about cleaning. They're usually about the noisy time and quiet time, which means that, for example, you cannot play loud music after 10 p.m. or, the rules how late you can have visitors. So if you can have visitors, there are rules if you can have pets and so on. There are also rules about drinking or having alcohol in your room, okay? So you need to know about those rules in advance and you need to follow them. There are also campus rules. Again, campus rules, it's like a new tradition, it's like, not very new, but it's kind of spreading in the United States. Many campuses declare themselves dry campuses, which means that you cannot have any alcohol on campus. And if you are caught drinking beer, especially if you're under 21, you can be in trouble. So please make sure that you follow all those rules. Very often, especially for undergraduate students, but for graduate as well, there are roommates. For undergraduate students, very often they have to share a room, and it's like a requirement in many universities that undergraduate students need to live on campus for the first and second years, and very often you need to have a roommate. So it means that you're living with somebody else. Graduate students, the situation is very different. Not very, but very often different. Normally, you can have, if you live on campus, it means that, for example, very often there is like a block or suite or whatever you call it, or like a small cottage with several people living in this area. But very often for graduate students, each person has a separate room, but you have a common area like kitchen or living room. So again, you have to make rules how you're going to live together. So talking with your roommate, you need to set certain rules for yourselves. There are campus rules, so there are dorm rules, but you can also discuss visitors, music and what kind of music you play and how late you can play, some study times and so on. So again, talk with your roommate. Very often you cannot choose who to live with. At least when you just arrive, you don't know the person you're going to live with. So it can be anybody. So you please discuss with this person what you like, what you don't like. Listen to this person just to make sure that you can, you can come to an agreement how to make your life on campus, how to make your life in the same space, at least tolerable, if not perfect. However, there are people who would not listen to reason, and so there are people who are very, very difficult to speak with. So don't be afraid to contact your RA. RA stands for residence assistant, and talk about your problems. So a resident assistant, usually a person who is in charge of the dorm. Normally, this person lives on the dorm, or those people can work in shifts on the dorm, and if you have any concerns, you can actually speak with this person and see if they can solve it. If you cannot come to an agreement with your roommate, if your roommate is making your life absolutely intolerable, so speak with the RA about moving to another room, switching rooms with somebody and so on. That's also possible. And finally, just remember, like it will be very difficult for you, or maybe financial at least, to fly to Ukraine for your holidays. So very often, at least during the winter break, the students are staying on campus. But many campuses, they are kind of, many dorms, they close down during the holidays. And the students who want to stay, they need to make the arrangements. Or at least they need to speak with the RA in advance to make sure that they will not be kicked out of their room during the holidays. So different universities have different policies, so find out well in advance before the holiday what the arrangements are for the holiday period, just to make sure that you have a place to go to during the holidays. Any questions? Okay. So no questions. We talked about academics, we talked about dorms, and so on. And of course, a very important part, which you can see in American movies, is how to enjoy your free time. Okay, first of all, you need to get ready for culture shock. I don't know how much you know about culture shock, so anybody can contribute anything on this matter? Any ideas about what culture shock is?
We don't seem to have any volunteers to speak.
Okay. Well, for some people, it is very difficult to adjust to a new culture. For some people, it's not, but everybody experiences the culture shock to some degree. The culture shock is like it's caused by the difference in between the cultures in different countries. It's caused by the differences in how the countries, the people operate. Just the way of things, people's values, people's behavior, everything, triggers this culture shock. Sometimes people experience it right after they step off the airplane. In some cases, they just experience it after some time. So in general, when people arrive to a new country, they will feel very happy and excited for a couple of weeks. It's like, it's called the honeymoon stage, when everything is exciting and interesting. But after a while, you just start missing your home country. And you start feeling bad being so far away from your family, from your friends, and so on. So this is, the stage is called culture shock. Sometimes people start complaining how bad everything is, that America is a bad country and people are stupid and so on. So this is not necessarily true. This is just the result of the culture shock that you may be experiencing. So just get ready, be aware that this is something that you will probably have. And after a while, you just get used to it, you adjust, you understand the way things work, so it becomes easier for you. But get ready that at some point you will feel very, very uncomfortable moving to the United States. So just first learn about culture shock, get ready. One of the ways to overcome the culture shock is talk to people. So first of all, you will want to talk to your family and friends back in Ukraine. So make sure that you have a way to do so. Okay, so arrange for Skype profile or other ways to talk to those people. You also talk to people on campus for several reasons. First of all, you cannot make new friends without talking to people. So get ready to talk, to introduce yourself, to tell about Ukraine, to answer many questions about our country, about yourself. So that's just, that will be the part of your college experience. And also talk with people, with other students, especially with the students in their second or third year, the students who have studied there for some time, because they can be valuable sources of information about different things. For example, which classes to sign up for. One and the same class can be given by different professors with different styles, with different test requirements and so on. So talking to people who have already taken these classes, it can actually help you decide which classes to take with which professor. Okay. Also, when you talk to people and making new friends, you can find out about all the beautiful events, exciting events that happen around the campus, and about other opportunities. Sometimes you can find out about on-campus jobs or about internships opportunities through those people, but you need to talk to them. Okay. Also, try to get involved, attend different events. Many campuses, they actually offer very extensive cultural program for their students. Normally, those events are posted on the university website. There's also like a newsletter where you can read about all those events. There may be an events calendar on the university's website and so on. So you can, attend all kinds of events. Those can be, cultural events. Those can be just fun events like parties. Those can be career events like career fair or, some workshops on how to write your resume. Those can be academic events, for example, lectures given by famous people attending the university just for the lecture and so on. So make sure that you do not miss on these events. Also, you can join a club or even start a club. For example, well, again, you can read about all those clubs on the university website. You can find, theater clubs, I don't know, singing clubs, dancing clubs, sports clubs, and so on. If you're not happy with the clubs that you have, you can actually find out how you can start your own club. In many cases, you can get, room for those classes. In some cases, you can also get funding from university for your activities. So again, find out about the opportunities and don't be shy. Also, try to do some new things when you're in the States, when you're in America. Again, if you come to international nights, international events, most probably people from different countries will be talking about their cultures. They will be, very often they can actually cook food from their home country, and this is something that you can try. They will speak about traditions. Again, they can bring some musical instruments from their home countries. They can teach some dancing, traditional dancing from their countries, and so on. Also, because there are so many activities going on with universities, you can, try things that you could, never do it before in Ukraine. Again, in Ukraine, there are not many opportunities at universities or otherwise to join a theater group, for example. So if you want to try acting to see what it's like, you can try it, and so on. And of course, it's very important to find balance because there are so many things going on campus, all those clubs and activities and events and parties, of course, that sometimes you just forget about your studies and, enjoy your free time. Enjoying your free time is good, but, it's very important that you find a balance between your studies and your party. I just read a piece of advice somewhere which said that party as hard as you can, but make sure you study even harder. So that's the advice that I can give you. Well, you can decide on the parties, but just please make sure that you don't forget about the studies. It's very important, especially if you're on a scholarship. If your grades slip, if you do not meet certain requirements, you'll just lose your scholarships, and this will not be a very good thing for you. Okay, any questions? Okay, so let's move on. Of course, it's very important to be safe, to stay healthy, and and well. So what can you do about this? First, plan your meals. What does it mean? Like there is, I don't know if it's a myth or not, but many people talk about freshman 15. It means that when people first come to an American campus, they gain 15 pounds, which is about 6 kilos, because there is so much food available. In many universities, there is like all you can eat food option. It means that once you enter a cafeteria, you can eat everything you want. You cannot take it out usually, but you can stay in the cafeteria for a long time and try all the foods that you can see there, all the meals. All the dishes. Again. You do not want to, to gain too much weight. So please make sure that you kind of have, I don't know, a plan for what you're going to eat. Another thing about planning your meals is that many universities offer you a meal plan. It means that you can buy a certain number of foods and those all you can eat cafeteria. So you can decide for yourself if you are going to eat in cafeterias or a student on campus 1 or 2 or 3 times a day, and you can buy a relevant meal plan that you like. or you can cook on campus if you're not interested in those meal plans. Just make sure that you eat healthy food and not just, burgers and pizza, okay? Also make sure that you exercise. I know that you may not like sports, but exercises in the States, it's very, very different. All universities, I would say, they have gyms, they have exercise facilities that have, even here, the gyms, in Ukraine, the gyms that you pay for, there will be nothing compared to most gyms in the States that will be free for you as a student. So there are swimming pools, there are different exercise facilities, there are sports clubs that you can join. Just make sure that you do get some exercise. It will be good for your health, it will be good for your brain, it will be good for your studies, actually. Also make sure that you get enough sleep, because if you sleep 4 or 5 hours a day studying or partying, it might be a problem for you very soon. So you need to sleep at least 7, better yet 8 hours a day, to be a good student and to do well in your classes. Also, be a responsible adult. So make sure that you do not drink too much, especially if you're under 21. It is in America, it will be illegal. Do not just make sure that you do not drink where it's not allowed. Do not smoke, and do not get involved in all kinds of illegal and dangerous behavior. Okay, so you understand what's good, what's bad at this point, so please make sure that you are the good person, okay? Also, if there is some peer pressure, for example, people are asking you out and you don't want to go out, or if people are convincing you to drink when you don't want to drink, it's okay to say no, okay? So don't do things just because people want you to do things. If you feel that the pressure is too high, you can always talk to someone. There will be some counselor, again, a consultant, I would say, on American campus, who you can share your problems with. Okay, so get help if you feel that you need some, help of a psychologist or therapist or just any other kind of professional. Normally, American universities, they provide such advisors. Okay, any questions? And of course, I think it's the last slide. Just make sure that you respect the rules. There are different rules that will apply to your situation. Of course, there are campus rules. So if it's a dry campus, you cannot drink. So please respect this rule. Do not get in trouble. Also, there are immigration regulations. What is that? So first of all, as an F1 student, you're not allowed to work anywhere but on campus. It means that if you find a job waitressing somewhere in a restaurant downtown, this will be breaking the American law. This will be breaking American immigration regulations. And if somebody finds out, and very likely they will find out, you will be in trouble. So the only kind of job that you can have is on campus up to 20 hours a week. Well, another kind of job is to do with your internships. So just, again, there are advisors who will tell you, who will prevent you from getting the right kind of internship or a job. So always, there are always people you can speak with. Also, make sure that you respect the U.S. legislation. I already spoke about drinking. There are also certain rules about driving, for example, who can drive and how, and so on. So just make sure that we have a statement that if you don't follow the law, it doesn't mean that you're not responsible if you break it. So again, there are advisors who you can talk with to make sure that you do not break any laws. And of course, make sure that you're academically honest. We already spoke about cheating and plagiarism. These are very, very bad offenses. So if you are engaged, if you're found doing those things, you can get into trouble. Okay, any questions about that? Sorry, that was not the last slide. So this one is the last. So it's also important to speak about the money matters. Yeah. Again, you need to plan your budget, especially if you're on a scholarship. So scholarship's good, but normally the money that you get, it's not it's not enough to lead a luxurious style of life. Okay, so you need to plan your expenses very carefully, especially regarding transportation, medical insurance. Well, you cannot plan the medical, you cannot cut on the medical insurance in most cases, but still, just make sure that you keep track of your expenses, and by the end of the month you see that you do not have enough money, so you will see for the next month how you can cut down on those expenses, which expenses you could avoid, and so on. Also, make sure that you're on time with your payments. I mean, payments for the studies, tuition payments. Normally, all universities publish the tuition payment schedules that you need to stick to. If you're late, you will be charged a fine. So you will have to pay extra money for that. Again, write down in your organizer, or enter this in your organizer, the dates when you have to be on time with your tuition. Okay. Also, if you want to save money, there are different options. Many businesses around campus, they will give you student discounts. Okay, we have a student card, and you may not find out about this. You may not see the information about this posted somewhere, but if you ask at the local shop, for example, it's okay to ask if the store provides some student discounts, even if they do not have any notices, if they do not publish it anywhere, and so on. Also, one of the very expensive items that people spend a lot of time, a lot of money on in the States is books. Some books can cost $100, $200, and so on. But this is when I'm talking about the new books. One of the ways to save on books is to buy used books, or to share the expenses with somebody else. There are special services on campuses where students want to sell their old books, and other students can buy those old books. There are also special sections on Amazon website, for example, where you can order old books at a much lower price. So if you feel that you really need to buy the books, just make sure you buy the used ones. And also, one of the things that you can, one of the ways to save money is to get a meal plan that I was talking about. So if you buy a meal plan, well, the more meals you buy, the more meals are included, the cheaper it is. So it's one of the options you can look into. It's just one of the ways to save money, and actually time, because you will not have to cook. Okay, any questions?
They're also quiet here. Oh, yay, we got a question.
Okay.
So my question is, I know it depends on school, but do you know is it hard to get a scholarship?
Oh, well, yes and no. Well, a lot of universities would offer you scholarships, especially to international students, because they're interested in getting international students on campus. The problem is that the scholarship can be $500 or $1,000, maybe $5,000, but the tuition is $30,000. So yes, you will get a scholarship, but the remaining amount that you have to pay is going to be huge. If you're talking about full need funding, again, Americans understand for American scholarship is different from Ukrainian scholarship. Okay, here a scholarship means that you study for free, and each month you get a certain amount of money as a student if you study well. For Americans, they understand scholarships in a different way. Everybody has to pay. But well, in general, yeah. But for many Americans, scholarship means not the money that the government or the university pays you, but the tuition discount that I have just mentioned. So $1,000, $2,000, and so on. And the problem is that for bachelor studies, undergraduate studies, it's extremely challenging to get those scholarships. Okay, I mean full need scholarships. It's almost impossible, I would say. You have to be very, very talented, and the university has to be very, very interested in you as a student to offer you full needs funding, okay? For graduate students, the situation is a little different. There are still scholarships, but I can't remember any of them that will be full need. Sometimes graduate scholarships can cover up to 100% of the tuition. You will still need to find money, to live. Could be $15,000 a year. It could be $20,000 a year, depending on the city and the state. A more realistic funding for the students, for graduate students, come from graduate assistantship. So it means that you work for the university up to 20 hours a week, and you do not pay for your education, you do not pay any tuition, or you get a very good discount for the tuition, and you also get a small salary or stipend, as they call it, which is enough to live. Okay, so those, to get those assistantships, it's also extremely challenging, but it's more realistic. It's easy. It's still easy, I would say, if you look at the rate. The percentage of people who get full need scholarships for bachelor studies or full need assistantship for graduate student studies. So it's more realistic. It's easier to get this full funding for graduates, graduate assistantship.
And to add to what Katerina was saying, it's definitely challenging, but there are still some examples of people every single year that get full funding going out from Ukraine to their bachelor's or master's, or not even speak about PhDs. In PhDs, it's quite a common thing to have all of your expenses covered by the university. So it really depends on how well you can find match yourself with a university that is really going to be interested in funding you. Did you have one more question?
May I ask you about, I heard some information about sometimes there are no completely 100% scholarship, but for example, we may found like collaboration between Ukrainian and different countries in sponsored some bright students, and for example 60% give some foundation in Ukraine, but another 40%, including the money for living, you may ask in other organizations, but I didn't understand in what organizations this people that mention this information make emphasis on international organization, but have we some possibilities?
Yes, there are possibilities. For example, there is an organization called Prodigy Finance. They would actually sponsor your, they will provide you with the money for the living expenses. But these are not exactly scholarships. That will be a loan. Okay, which means that you will have to return this money with interest. Of course, the interest rate is not as high as in Ukraine. It's not going to be 48% per year. It's going to be, I can't remember, 3 or 5% a year. And you do not have to pay until you graduate. Okay, especially for Prodigy Finance, these are for the students who get admitted to a certain list of universities. So they do not work with each and every university. And I think also the list of majors is also limited. Okay, so this is just about one organization that I know of that provides money for the living expenses.
And to jump in on that, I think at least when you've said 60%, you are probably talking about the worldwide studies that can cover up to 60% of the cost. And from all of our experiences, people that would get a worldwide study award would often also get some type of either tuition waiver or a fellowship from their university that would cover partially their costs, and then worldwide studies would match that. There are also cases for those who are in MBA or MPA, MPP fields to get co-funding from worldwide studies and the SEED grant, which is co-financed by USAID, to go and study in one of the top schools in the United States. So essentially, in case of the worldwide studies, it doesn't matter for them who is your co-funder. They will work with whatever or whoever is willing to sponsor you for the remaining of cost.
Okay, and also, again, depending on your major, there will be other organizations, other funds, but the problem with them is that you need to apply very early, sometimes even before you get admission results from universities. So many scholarship funds, they accept applications, stop accepting applications for the next fall 1 year before. So for example, if you want to start your studies in next fall, fall 2018, you should have applied for this funding, for example, in December 2017. So you need to really plan in advance how you're going to get the money and where you're going to look for it.
Do we have any more questions in the audience? I think we're good here. Maybe there are questions from people online. I'm not sure. But...
Oh, I don't see any.
Oh yeah, we have one more question.
Yeah, out of curiosity, Katerina, what school you're going to, or if you don't?
I'm not going to school. I'm an Education USA advisor. So unfortunately, I didn't have a chance to study as a full-time student in the States, but I have been to the States several times with different kinds of, trainings. Actually, my first trip was for a training as an English teacher, but it was not like a full-time studies.
Oh.
But it was still overwhelming. It was extremely challenging for me. That was 12 years ago, first time. And actually, exactly 12 years ago, I was there in June in Boston. And the classes, like our study program was built on the basis similar to the studies on American campus. So I found it extremely overwhelming. So yeah, I can tell you that you need to get very ready. You need to work very hard, and you need to be prepared that it will be difficult in the first weeks, maybe months in the States.
It will all pay back, though. After all. Okay, I think we're done with questions here, unless nobody is signaling me that they have any more. Thank you very much, Katerina, for the great presentation. Really appreciate you spending this time with us. Thanks to everybody who've joined us online and in person in America House. It's always a pleasure to hang out with you.
Okay, thank you.